Hello everyone. So what we are going to learn today is buffer stock management. Myself Kishore Kumar Roy Chaudhary, and I am right now store in charge of Kalna SDN DSS Hospital, which is under Government of West Bengal. Now the first thing, what is buffer stock? Now we already have know that buffer solutions are those type of solutions which used to be in a balanced pH range. If we give a little bit of acid or base, then the actual pH of the solution remains constant. And how it used to be done by the solution we know. Just like that, a buffer stock means whenever there is any situation where there is a sudden demand of that particular essential drug or equipment, then that particular stock which is already reserved, actually this is a reserved stock, which is calculated in such a manner that it can give a little bit backup to the situation. So that is the buffer stock. Let's come to the definition and explanation of this particular stock. Buffer stock is a safety stock to manage sudden fluctuation in the demand and supply equilibrium. That means suppose a stock is about to finish. Before that we have decided that 25% of the stock will be in the buffer. That means if for somehow some reason suddenly the demand is increased or the supply is delayed, then this buffer stock can maintain the total system in a balance. The next thing is, it is an important aspect in inventory management of hospital to cope up any undesirable critical and may play a vital role to save a life. Undesirable criticality means, suppose I just explain with an example to this particular point, that in case of inventory management, suppose there is a particular drug ketamine which is very essential for operations in anesthesia, and suddenly the ketamine completely stock is nil, so the operation may be delayed due to the problem in anesthesia, suppose. And moreover, the drug is a Schedule X drug, so it is hard to obtain all of a sudden, so we have to keep a buffer stock of the same, and due to that it may also save the life of the person. Due to this particular reason, we also have to keep buffer stock of essential drugs in such a manner that it can save the lives of people. Now in the next point we are going, just like a buffer solution resists the pH change, which I told at the beginning, to an extent a buffer stock protects the inventory in sudden disaster. If any situational event occurs, then the buffer stock used to give a backup. Now next come to the key parameters of the buffer stock. See, to maintain a buffer stock, the things which we have to keep in our considerations are accurate forecasting. Number one is accurate forecasting. Next is refill frequency. We have to determine a refill frequency. Then seasonal variations we have to take care of, and product perishability we have to take care of, and last but not least is lead time. Now see, demand and supply, that is the equilibrium of one particular store. So demand of a drug is dependent on the accurate forecasting. Suppose the hospital wards are asking for drugs. Now they have to determine the actual demand of the drug for all the wards, and the store in charge or store personnel have to accumulate all the demands from different wards. Demand 1, demand 2, demand 3. Suppose like this, 3 demands for one particular drug came, drug number 1, from ward number 1, ward number 2, ward number 3. Now the total demand will be cumulatively supplied by the store. So for that, first we have to cumulatively take the demand from different wards, and that also we have to consider with the other parameters. So other parameters are also equally related to the accurate forecasting. Suppose for seasonal variation, few diseases used to increase in the summer season. So we have to make a good stock for the summer season. Now, how the forecasting of the drug to be monitored? First year, second year, and third year. We have to calculate the total expenditure in a quarter, January to March, suppose. Now, in this quarter, maybe a drug is expenditure of the drug is X, which is less than Y, and Y is the expenditure in the next quarter, second quarter. Okay, but this can be determined by analysis of 3 years, past 3 years. Now on the basis of those past 3 years, we have to make one calculation which I will discuss later, and we have to forecast the drug demand of that particular drug. Now refill frequency. Now we have to check that how much amount of drug is refilled with how much time, and in this particular thing we have to check the lead time of the drug. In our system of West Bengal government, we used to follow SMIS, that is Store Management Information System. One portal is there, and in that portal for each drug there is particular lead time. It may be 45 days, it may be 30 days, etc. That is the maximum lead time. Now what is lead time? That will be discussed later, but briefly I am saying right now, lead time means the time when I am making a purchase order as a store in charge and the product came to my store. In between that time or intermittent time is called lead time. That means for purchasing, I have made one purchase order and I received the product and made GRN. So the intermittent period between purchase order and GRN is called lead time. Next parameter comes, that is product perishability. Destruction of the product. There is definitely, every product have its shelf life. So we have to check the shelf life and the proper storage condition. Storage condition is a very important thing. If we do not keep the product in particular storage requirement, then it may deteriorate or it may destroy before its expiry date. So all those things we have to check in the buffer stock management. Now in the next slide, accurate forecasting. So what is accurate forecasting is already I have briefly discussed these matters. I'm just reading one by one the points and explaining that. To ensure the predetermined volume of stock. Now predetermined volume of stock means we have to determine that paracetamol should be given 5 lakhs in 1 quarter to the whole hospital. Then that is the forecasting of paracetamol. Now PCM or paracetamol may come in different dosage forms. That comes from 125, 500, 650, 1000. That can be of in different dosage form and strength. That is strength. Excuse me for the previous mistake. This is strength, and dosage form means that can be in tablet form, that can be in infusion form, etc. So for each form, each strength, we have to predetermine the volume of the stock, because each form, each strength have different cost. So we have to ensure each and every product, each and every drug and equipment or other consumable in such a manner that the cost of the product is separate for each dosage form, each strength, each size, shape, etc. That is accurate forecasting. To forecast and evaluate the demand and supply. To forecast and evaluate the demand and supply. Now what is this? For each strength, each dosage form, each cost, we have to segregate the drug and we have to evaluate the demand. As I told before, that we have to evaluate the demand in previous 3-year consumptions for that particular product, and we have to make a assumption that how much will be my current year consumption. Now there may be a little bit plus minus values, that doesn't matter, but if we accurately make it, then this plus minus value will be least. Okay, so to forecast and evaluate the demand and supply volume time to time for maintaining the buffer stock. Maintaining the buffer stock and evaluating this particular value may vary because of the situation and season and many other factors. So we definitely have to calculate each 3 years, and previous 3 years will accurately give the result. This is not mandatory, but this will give a little bit idea that how much may be the current year consumption for that particular drug. Proper documentation of the stock for interdepartmental forecasting. Now, interdepartmental forecasting means ward wise. Suppose A drug is required for OT, B drug is required for SNCU. Now, it may occur that C drug is required for SNCU and OT both. So first we have to take demand from each department, that is from OT as well as SNCU, and we have to check what are the common drugs, and what is the total demand. Then only we can calculate what is the actual requirement of that particular ward. Now we have to divide according to the requirement. Now OT have demand of the C drug about 5%, but SNCU required 10% of the drug. So according to that we have to supply. So calculating all these things, we can measure that how much drug will be procured and how much drug will be supplied to each department according to their requirement. So this was the all over accurate forecasting. Now next point is frequency to refill the stock. The trends and past frequency, which I told previously, the 3 years trends and past frequency of the refilling, that means how much lead time has been required, and if lead time is crossed, then we have done some quotations and all and procured it from the outside vendors. Then what took the total time of refilling, those all things should be considered in this particular point, that what is the total time for replenishing and what is the previous trend of the demand. Okay, that is the frequency to refill the stock. The frequency say once in a month can make a better plan. Once in a month is a very low window or small window. So the drug forecasting should be of the previous 3 years in a quarterly manner. It will be easier for calculation, which we used to do in our institution. Now lead time. Lead time is a very important thing. So lead time is the period it will take for procurement a quantity of stock. Means, as I told before, that when I made the purchase order, when I made the PO or purchase order, and when I made the GRN or good receipt note, in between this intermittent time is called the lead time, simply. So lead time is the period it will take for the procurement of a quantity of stock. For planning buffer stock, it has to be synchronized with the lead time, else either stocking would be delayed or it would be earlier than expected. Now see, this intermittent time is very much important for the calculation of buffer stock. Suppose for a particular drug we have kept 25% buffer stock. Now in this intermittent time, this 25% buffer stock is completely finished and again 5% scarcity occurred, then the lead time calculation is wrong. So lead time calculation will be in such a manner that within 20% of the finish of buffer stock, the stock will be refilled. Then only the lead time calculation is perfect. Maybe I have told it very easily and it is quite easy to understand. But again, I am just explaining the thing. Lead time means the intermittent time between purchase order and good receipt note, that is refilling of the stock from the preparation of purchase order. In this time, if buffer stock is used, then it should not be completely washed off or completely finished. At least 20% of the buffer stock if finished and 5% is remaining, and within this time the particular stock is refilled again, then only lead time is perfect. Now, product perishability. Product perishability means the destruction or destroy of the product, or when the product is expired. Shelf lives or perishability of the drug or biological substances or goods is a very important parameter for buffer stock planning. Otherwise, the expiry will cost a lot. When we are planning the buffer stock, then we have to take care of the nearest expiry medicines also. If there is any nearest expiry medicine, then it should be finished before the next expiry medicines. So the higher expiry date medicines should be kept in the buffer stock. Otherwise, it will expire, and the motto of buffer stock also will not fulfill. The next stage is the synchronization of the usage and supply to be monitored for rational buffer stock of slow moving items. Now, few items are there which are very slow moving. Suppose drug X is used by the physicians very less, but it is a very important drug and suddenly it may be required in any time. So, though it is an essential drug, but it is slow moving. In case of this kind of slow moving drugs, if we keep more buffer stock, about 25%, then the 25% drug also will expire and it will not be a cost effective thing. So for slow moving items, we have to be very much conscious about the calculations of buffer stock, lead time, etc. And the trend analysis also should be very much critical for this kind of stocks. In the next slide, seasonal variations or situational variation. This is a very important point, and it occurs a number of times. Suppose in our hospital, some situations used to come when the snakes used to increase and snake bite people used to come to our hospitals. That time few drugs like atropine, antivenom, and glycopyrrolate, myopyrrolate, etc. are very much in demand. So we have to check the previous trend of this particular situations, and we have to keep buffer stock in such a manner that it can be life-saving. In case of weather changes, we have seen that pneumonia and respiratory disorders used to enhance, and that time those kind of drugs which are very much important according to the STG and EDL, we have to keep in our buffer stock. A particular season may enhance few diseases, or a pandemic situation may generate new drug requirements to the vital and essential drug list. We already have came across from the COVID-19 pandemic, and we have seen that many drugs has been in very much essential use in those situations. So in this kind of sudden situations, we have to do the buffer stock calculation once again, and in case of this type of life-threatening situations, these calculations are very much critical. Buffer stock to be modified according to seasonal and situational variations. Now, it may happen that in previous 3 years, suppose in 2021, 22 and 23, we have seen that in 22 and 21, few drugs for some pandemic use was very much increased, and in next 3 years, definitely in 24, 25, it will not be in that much requirement. So we have to make few drugs calculations obsolete, and maybe in new situations few drugs demand may rise. So continuously, in a continuous manner, we have to do the calculations. So actually buffer stock calculation is a continuous calculation, and consecutively in 3 years, if we check the trend, then it is not mandatory that the trend will match in the next 3 years. So this is a continuous manner, and we cannot validate it in a rigidity. This is very much fluctuating, and continuously we have to monitor whether there is any change in demand and supply of any particular drug or any particular equipment or other consumable. So buffer stock may be modified according to the seasonal or situational variation. This is very much important point. Now, advantages of buffer stock. Now it's very much obvious that we have discussed and understood the previous manners of the buffer stock and what is the main concept of the buffer stock. So we definitely will understand the advantages of the buffer stock. So I'm not exaggerating these things so much. I'm just reading the points. Prevention from the demand and supply fluctuation. Number 2, it can help in cost reduction due to avoiding situational cost hike. By having buffer stock, opportunity losses do not occur. Disadvantages of the buffer stock. Now this is also very much important. We have to take care of the disadvantages also. But disadvantages can be minimized by proper calculation and forecasting of the drug. In case of shorter shelf life, the products can be damaged and be rendered useless. So continuously we have to check the shelf life of the drugs, and we have to refill the buffer stock with new stocks, means new shelf life of the drugs which have a wider range of expiry date. Additional overhead cost in purchasing and storing this stock. Definitely, if we are keeping 25% of the buffer stock in average of the all products, definitely you have to keep those products also in such a manner with its actual requirement of the storage. We have to pay a cost for the storing of the stock. That may be a disadvantage. Inventory control and buffer stock. Now this is a very important point which I am going to discuss. Please give your attention. Basically, buffer stock management is a technique of inventory control or method for analysis of drug expenditure. In our syllabus of pharmacy, we have studied this in our hospital management, hospital pharmacy portion. And if anyone is interested, then all the stock management procedures which I am going to discuss briefly can check from internet or from any book which is related to hospital store management or inventory management. But a little bit or brief idea I'm going to give in this particular slide. Other inventory control methods are interlinked with buffer stock. See, other methods of inventory control are ABC analysis. This kind of method also used in the inventory control. See, ABC analysis means A items, very high controlled and highly documented items. Suppose Schedule X drugs, very high control and highly documented drugs. And even we have to keep in double lock system also, and we have to note down the batch number, how much the expenditure is done in one usage with the registration number of the person who have consumed the item or drug. Those are very high controlled and highly documented drug. Number B, moderately controlled and well documented drugs. See, some very costly drug. Okay, now that costly drug is also a essential drug, so we have to take care of that particular drug and we will keep it in B items. Okay, C is the less controlled and minimum recorded. Less cost, generally used drugs, we have not to give so much importance like A and B. Like this analysis also we can do in case of inventory control. Now the second system is BED analysis. In a essential drug list of our West Bengal government, a old system was there, but that was a very good system also. That is VED analysis, that is vital, essential and desirable categorization. And till now, whichever I have seen, that particular essential drug list was most rational and most effective, and I loved it. No, now the drug list whatever is issued by the government is not bad, but that drug list was very much explainable and very much it was quite easy for the medical professionals also to check whether the drug is falling in vital, essential or desirable category, and how the calculations of the buffer stock and inventory control to be done. It was written there. So VED analysis means vital, essential and desirable categorization. Same like ABC, suppose A drugs are vital drugs, B drugs are essential drugs, and C drugs are desirable drugs. Now vital drugs means they have much more regulation, much more documentation, and much more use in the therapeutics. Now essential drugs, suppose they have much more therapeutic use, and they are essential too for most of the diseases. And desirable means it is okay to keep in account, or if it is not kept in account also, then also it can be managed. So like this, in three situations we can divide the drugs and equipments. And next is EOQ analysis, that is economic order quantity as per formula. Generally this particular system is not followed in medicinal stores. It is mainly useful for those stores which are commercial stores and all. Here what they used to do, they used to take care of the cost of the materials in much more importance. So there is a equation here, Q is equals to root over 2 ds by h, where Q is the EOQ units. EOQ unit means above Q it will be determined that how much is the requirement or essentiality of that particular drug. So here D is demand in units, how much the particular substance or thing is required, that unit. Suppose 200 unit of that particular thing is required for 1 month, like that, that is the demand. S is the cost of that particular thing in unit, that is per unit 20 rupees. H is the holding cost. Now if we keep it in our store, then how much will it cost per year, that is the holding cost. So in all those things, if we do these values, if we put in this equation, then Q value will come. Okay, and EOQ is not applicable for our store and have not to give much more importance. Okay, now comes the lead time. I already have discussed what is lead time. Now this is the definition of lead time, and I have simplified this term lead time previously, that is the time between PO and GRN. Simple. Here I am going to read this. The lead time is the sum of the supply delay and the recording delay. See, recording delay means I have not kept it in my GRN, that is recording, good receipt note. And supply delay, I have made the purchase order but the item yet in the transit and not received by my store, that is the supply delay. The lead time is the applicable duration to calculate the lead demand and safety stock, or the recorder point, through a direct quantile forecast. The longer the lead time, the higher the total inventory level of the the larger is the safety stock. As far as lead time will increase, so far we have to increase the buffer stock or safety stock. Okay, so if a lead time is much more for any product, then we have to increase the buffer stock percentage. Suppose 30 days is lead time for one essential drug, and we have kept 25% of the buffer stock for that particular product. Now the same value of essentiality of another drug, but the lead time is 40 days, then we have to enhance this 25% to 30%, suppose. So if lead time increases, then buffer stock also we have to keep more, it will increase. Okay, now next slide, formula. This is the actual formula of the buffer stock, but to keep this formula in actual practice also a tedious job, and it is not a job of a single person. Every sister in charge of the ward have to do this particular calculation and submit it to the store in charge, and store in charge will check all the values of all drugs and make, according to me, he should tabulate all these things in a Excel sheet, and before ordering he should check that how much is the buffer stock amount of that particular drug with the particular strength and particular formulation with the particular cost. Okay, so see, the formula is maximum daily use into maximum lead time. Now maximum daily use for one particular drug to determine is a very tedious job for one hospital, because maximum daily use, if we have to calculate, suppose paracetamol is used in ward number 100, in ward number 2 200, in outdoor 5000. Now in this total amount, if we have to summarize, then it's a very hard job. I'm coming to the next discussion, that how it can be solved. But right now, according to the formula, maximum daily use into maximum lead time minus average daily use into average lead time is equals to safety stock or buffer stock. Now we know that maximum lead time is maximum days taken to receive the item. Average lead time is average days taken to receive the item. Now what is maximum, what is average? See, we can do this calculation for 1 month. Now each day we have to calculate that how many of a particular drug is used or item is used or consumed. Okay, the X amount of this drug is used per day. Now for 30 days, it is used Y amount. So in this 30 days, the maximum daily use is X in average, but for day 1 it is X1, for day 2 it is X2, like this. For day 30 it is X3, and in all these data, suppose X2 is the highest value, that is the maximum daily use. Okay, now maximum lead time means for this particular product, in the whole month it took about 40 days once to refill the stock. That is the maximum lead time. Now suppose it is not possible that for 30 days or after each 2 days we are procuring that product. Yet in this situation, you just assume that for each 2 days we are procuring this product. We have to make one average of the lead time. So for each 2 days means 14 times or 15 times we have done the PO and received the product in GRN. Now in the third time of the purchase order, it took 40 hours to receive the item, and that is the highest time to receive the item. That is the maximum lead time, and we have to make one average that for the first time it took 20 hours, second time 10 hours, third time 30 hours, fourth time 40 hours. Like this calculation have to be done. But in actual situation, what used to happen, for quarterly we used to do indent, means 3 monthly. Now for after 3 months, when the product used to refill, previously we used to keep just 25% of the stock in general. That also gives a quite good idea for keeping the buffer stock. And if we are observing that any stock is more than its use, then what we used to do, we just used to forecast our drug is more according to our requirement, and we request other hospitals and PHs to receive those drugs through our SMIS portal. And if they used to receive, then the drug used to be used, the stock used to be nil. Okay, so there is a balance in this situation, and this is not any hard and fast rule that we have to follow this particular formula, but we have to keep one buffer stock in such a manner that our stock should not be nil for a single wink of time. Okay, so this was the total concept of the buffer stock, and which is very much essential to understand for inventory control and management. And I hope you have gathered a bit knowledge from this particular slide. If there is any doubt and query, please write in the comment section and I will explain with my best. Thank you very much. Ask your doubts in the comments.